I always knew that my cousin was one of those who did not hear a no in response. Since she was a child, she had this spoiled girl way, who liked to be the center of attention. I knew exactly how to make anyone dance according to her music. But what I never imagined was that one day her target would be my husband. At first, I thought it was paranoia. Do you know that uncomfortable feeling? A cold in the belly without explanation? So it is. But it was a night for everything to get. Wide open, it was just a family dinner. Simple thing. Laughter, wine, small conversation. Everything seemed normal until she arrives. And my God, how it arrived. The dress glued to the body, the sweet and provocative perfume I knew well, and those eyes, stripped into my husband as if they were savoring every detail of him. There, I understood everything. She didn't come just to eat, came to play, to test my limits, to tease me, and maybe even to steal what is mine. Only I'm not silly. I saw, I felt, and now you will find out exactly what happened that night. And believe me, you're not ready for what I'm going to tell. When the door opened, my body crashed. She entered as who knows that she can do everything. Shoulders raised, walking calculated, holding the bag with exaggerated elegance. The dress hugged each curve. The neckline? Dangerous. The smile? That. The same as usual. Sweet on the outside, poisonous inside. She came straight to me, hugged me hard, stuck into my neck and whispered, "I was missing you." Her smell invaded me. Sweet, hot, engaging. But before I could react, her eyes were already in him. "Wow, you're different." The voice came out sly, the eyes analyzing my husband from above. "Are you stronger?" She laughed softly, bit her lip, and before I could breathe, her fingers were already sliding down his arm. Slowly, as those who explore a new territory. He smiled awkwardly, but I saw his chest inflate. I sat at the table trying to ignore, but her game was just beginning. She leaned, spoke slowly, held the glass of wine with her fingers delicate, drank as if she was teasing, and when the liquid touched her lips, she bit them. 1, 2, 3 times, always looking at him. With each movement of her, the leg leaned against his. First subtle, then firmer. And what made me furious? The smile she gave every time. The dinner was served, but the main course was not the food. I pretended not to see, but my blood was boiling. And then came the final blow. She took the knife too, cut the meat and, as a magic pass, dropped. It was fast, but I could see. She slowly bent down without any hurry, and her hands were not straight to the knife. Before that, they brushed his leg. Lightly, almost a affection, he moved in the chair. "Oops, that distracted," she said slowly, rising with a smile that said everything. I saw the brightness in her eyes. That was not an accident, and I couldn't stand. Was it all right? It seems that today it is hard to hold on." She laughed. He threw his hair back, looked me up and down, and his voice sweet. He replied, "Sometimes some things simply slip from my hands." The poison was at the tip of the tongue. And the worst? Her game was working. Dinner is over, but her party doesn't. We went to the living room. More wine, more laughs. But nothing there was innocent. Her laugh was getting louder, the most sassy touch, the deeper look. Until he said he was going to get more wine. She got up at the same time. "I'll help." I just kept looking. My heart was hitting strong, my mind shouted. I got up without a noise and went after. Near the door, I hid and heard. Her voice was low, hoarse, loaded with second intentions. "You're really different, stronger, your wife is lucky." Silence. And then came the stab. "But does she know how to enjoy?" My blood boiled. I took a deep breath. If I got in there now, it would end everything. And it wasn't time. I went back to the couch, pretending that nothing had happened. When they came back, she smiled. He held the bottle as if it were the last thing in the world. I avoided my gaze. And I knew. She was testing my limits. And the worst? My husband was on the razor's thread. Every minute she got closer. He touched his arm when he laughed, moved his hair, leaned his body, spoke softly in his ear. All subtle, all dangerous. Needed to test too? I got up without warning and went to the kitchen. I took a glass of water and waited. No comments, no suspicious look. I went back slowly to the room, and that's when I saw it. Her hand, in his leg. It was not any touch. It was intimate, time-consuming, as who already feels at home. When she saw me, she smiled, but it wasn't any smile. It was a smile of who knows exactly what he is doing, and slowly, very slowly, her fingers slid down his leg before finally retreating. My husband tried to disguise. He took the glass of wine, looked at TV, as if nothing had happened, but I saw. I felt. It was real. She wasn't just kidding. She wanted to take what was mine, right in front of me. My heart shot, my hands sweated. She noticed. "Of course you realized," and smiled sideways. The kind of smile that made me feel a shiver on my pimple. She was testing me, teasing me, challenging me, and I needed to decide. Now. I got up and went to the kitchen. My hands trembled. I took a deep breath. Either I put an end to it, or would lose control. I went back to the living room and stopped right in front of her. "You're having fun, isn't it?" She tilted her head, threw her hair to the side, and looked at me from top to bottom. "What are you talking about?" The sweet voice, the eyes shining with malice. My husband stirred the couch, uncomfortable. "You don't make a sound. I know very well what you are trying to do." She laughed. That kind of laugh that makes the blood boil. "Oh, cousin, you were always so innocent. My skin burned." "I'm not as innocent as you think." She got up. Slowly, it came close. Very close. Her perfume enveloped me like a trap. And then he whispered, "Then prove me." The silence between us weighed in the air. She wasn't just playing. She wanted to see how far I was going. And me? I didn't know if I was ready for this game, but something inside me woke up. I started to observe every detail, every movement, every look. And it was not long before I had the proof I needed. My husband got up to go to the bathroom. She waited a few seconds. He took his cell phone and without haste, left right behind. My heart fired. I got up and followed the hall without making a noise. I arrived close to the door and heard her voice, low, provocative. "Are you enjoying the joke?" My spine shivered. "Relax. I know you feel something. I realized by the way you look at me." And then, silence. No word, no negative. My vision darkened. I opened the door at once. She was there, leaning against the sink, the sloping body, the fixed eyes on it, he standing in front of her. There was no touch, but the tension between the two. It was electric, palpable, explosive. She turned slowly, without haste, straightened her hair and smiled. "Cousin, what a fright. We were just talking." The sweet voice, the sharp look, the poison dripping from each word. My breathing weighed. My stomach turned. My husband's eyes crossed with mine for a second. Just a second, because soon he deflected, as if he had something to hide. My fingers closed, tightly. Her play was wide open, and the worst part? He did nothing to stop her. The silence was a minefield. I felt my heart hammering my chest, my hands shaking. She was still there, leaning against the sink, looking at me with that crooked smile. The kind of smile that says, "I won." My husband lowered his head, took a glass and filled with water. The nervousness was stamped on him, but he said nothing. I could end it now. I could scream. I could expose everything. But was it worth it? I took a deep breath. She didn't deserve this show. I wasn't going to give her this taste. "Is everything okay, cousin?" She arched her eyebrows, surprised by my calm. "Of course. We were just talking." Her voice dripped malice. My gaze went to my husband. He avoided staring at me. "Great," I said, with a smile that didn't come to the eyes. "So let's go back to the room." I turned around, but before I left, I stopped at the door. I looked at her one last time. "I hope you're having fun." She bit her lip. He smiled even more. "You have no idea." My blood boiled, but I didn't transparent her. She loved this game. Now it was my turn to play. I went back to the room first, sitting on the couch calmly. I crossed my legs, took the glass of wine to my mouth and waited. If she wanted to play, I also knew how to play. She appeared soon after, walking like who has already won. And my husband came after. This time he looked far away, as if trying to understand what the hell had just happened. She smiled at him before she sat down. Too close. Again. Everything is fine? You look tense. Her voice was a sweet poison. My husband stirred his fingers. I'm just a little tired. Her hand landed on his shoulder. It started to massage. Slowly, with your fingers sliding down his skin. Tiredness is bad. Sometimes we just need to relax a little. My blood boiled. He's fine. My voice came out firm. No room for games. She turned her face slowly, the smile aside, the eyes full of challenge. Of course it is. I just like to take care of who deserves it. Her eyes found mine. She knew exactly what she was doing. My husband looked at me, but, as always, he said nothing. She slid her fingers through his shoulder before back. Slow, provocative, the silence. In the room was unbearable. She was no longer playing. She was attacking. And he did nothing to stop it. The tension was suffocating. My heart beat hard. My mind was around 1,000 thoughts. I wanted to get up. I wanted to scream. I wanted to pull that satisfied expression from her face. But no, not now. Now it was my turn. She wanted to see me lose control. I wanted to see me break, despair me. But me? I took a deep breath. I took a sip my wine. And smiles. Press. I think it's late for visits, don't you think? She raised an eyebrow. Fun. Do you want me to leave? I leaned forward. I looked into her eyes. I want to see how far you are willing to go. My husband looked at me confused. He ran his hand on the back of his neck, restless. She? She smiled even more. He got up. He took the bag. He walked to the door without haste, as if leaving the crime scene. But before leaving, she stopped, turned her head slightly, and whispered, "This is just beginning." The door closed. The silence was overwhelming. My husband finally stared at me. Are you going to tell me what's going on? Slowly, I put my cup on the table. I got up, passed by him, his fixed eyes on his. And then I whispered, "You know very well what is happening. Her game is over. Now it was my turn to play."